The wind in the Sahel region of Africa carried a relentless, gritty dust that coated everything. It settled on the canvas tents of the refugee camp, on the clothes of the children, and in the lines etched deep on the faces of their parents. For Angelina Jolie, a UN Goodwill Ambassador, this dust was the weight of a silent, forgotten world. She wasn't here for a photo op. She was here to work. Her team had been on the ground for a week, and the plan was already in motion. Her first stop was the makeshift school, a flimsy structure of tarps and sticks. Inside, a dozen children sat on the dusty floor, their eyes wide with a mixture of curiosity and exhaustion. A young local teacher, a refugee herself, was trying to explain basic math with a stick in the sand. Angelina knelt down, her presence a quiet ripple rather than a loud wave. She listened intently to the teacher, Fatou, who spoke of their biggest challenges. "The children are smart," Fatou said, her voice soft but firm. "They learn fast, but we have nothing. No books, no desks. When it rains, the school disappears." Angelina's mind was already racing. This wasn't just about a school. It was about dignity and a future. She knew that education was the key to breaking the cycle of poverty and displacement. She spent the morning with the children, reading a story from a book she'd brought, a simple tale of a girl who built her own house. The children's faces lit up, captivated by the colorful illustrations and the possibility of a different life. She saw the flicker of hope in their eyes, and it solidified her resolve. In the afternoon, she moved on to the women's section of the camp. Here, under the scorching sun, a small group of women was working with vibrant textiles. They were weaving intricate patterns on looms made from scavenged wood, their hands moving with a practiced, elegant rhythm. This was the nascent stage of a cooperative, a project started with the support of a small NGO. The women were trying to sell their crafts in a nearby town, but the logistics were a nightmare. Angelina spoke with their leader, a woman named Zara, who spoke with a quiet strength. "We have the skill," Zara said, holding up a beautifully woven scarf. "But we don't have a way to get our work to the people who will buy it. We need a market, and we need a way to get there." Angelina listened, her expression one of deep concentration. She understood that this was about more than just income. It was about empowerment. It was about these women having a sense of purpose and control in a world where they had lost almost everything. She promised to connect them with a network of international fair trade organizations, helping them find a reliable market for their beautiful work. She saw the glimmers of a future not just of survival, but of prosperity. Later that evening, as the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the camp, Angelina met with a small team of engineers and aid workers. They were discussing the most critical issue of all, water. The camp's only water source was a polluted well, and the cases of cholera and dysentery were on the rise, especially among the children. The engineers had a plan for a new well, one with a filtration system that could provide clean, safe drinking water, but they were short on funding and supplies. Angelina sat with them, poring over schematics by the light of a flickering lamp, asking detailed questions about the technology and the timeline. This was the most urgent mission, the one that meant the difference between life and death. She knew that without clean water, all the other efforts, the school, the women's cooperative, would be in jeopardy. The night air grew cool, and the stars began to appear, a brilliant, uncountable tapestry in the inky sky. Angelina felt the weight of her responsibility, but also the fierce determination that had brought her here. The three projects, the school, the women's business, the clean water, were all interconnected. Each one was a thread in the complex fabric of hope she was trying to weave. This wasn't a celebrity visit, it was a mission, and the mission had just begun. She knew she couldn't solve all their problems, but she could help them take the first steps toward a better future, one dusty, determined day at a time. The work was hard, the challenges were immense, but the hope she saw in the eyes of the children and the women was a fuel stronger than any doubt. The following days were a whirlwind of action and tireless effort. Angelina was a constant presence, not just observing, but actively participating. The project to build the new school was the first to get underway. She was there, in old jeans and a t-shirt, helping to mark out the foundation. The camp residents, seeing her working alongside them, were inspired. Men and women, young and old, joined in, their collective energy a powerful force against the dusty ground. The air buzzed with a mix of purpose and a palpable sense of community. The new school wasn't going to be a temporary structure. Angelina and her team had secured funding for a more permanent building, one made of mud bricks and a sturdy tin roof that could withstand the rainy season. She worked with the local builders, learning the traditional methods of construction. She mixed mud and straw with her own hands, feeling the cool, thick mixture between her fingers. She carried bricks and helped lay the foundation, her movements deliberate and focused. The children, fascinated, watched her every move. She'd pause to talk to them, asking them what they wanted to be when they grew up. A doctor, one little girl said shyly. A teacher, said a boy. Angelina smiled, knowing that this new school was a promise, a physical manifestation of their dreams. Meanwhile, the women's cooperative was getting a huge boost. Angelina had been on the phone constantly with her contacts back in the States and Europe. She found a fair trade company that was eager to buy the women's beautiful textiles. The company promised to pay a fair wage and provide a consistent market. Angelina personally helped the women set up a small workshop, a shaded area where they could work more comfortably and store their materials. She brought them better quality thread and looms, and she helped them organize their inventory. Zara, the group's leader, was amazed. "We've been talking about this for years," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "You came, and in a few days, it's real." Angelina saw the pride in Zara's eyes, the quiet confidence that was beginning to blossom among all the women. They weren't just making scarves. They were building a future for themselves and their families. But the most critical and challenging project was the water well. The team of engineers Angelina was working with was top-notch, but the conditions were tough. They had to drill deep into the hard, rocky ground. The work was slow and grueling. Angelina was often at the site, offering encouragement, bringing the workers cold drinks, and helping to move equipment. She understood the urgency. Every day without clean water meant another child sick, another family suffering. She spent time with the camp's medical staff, witnessing firsthand the effects of the contaminated water. She saw babies suffering from dehydration and mothers desperately trying to care for their sick children. This was the reality of the situation, the harsh truth that fueled her determination. Late one afternoon, after hours of drilling, the machine hit a pocket of water. A cheer erupted from the workers and the crowd that had gathered to watch. The water came up, clear, clean, and life-giving. It was a moment of pure, unadulterated triumph. Angelina felt a wave of relief wash over her. She watched as the first few buckets were filled, and people lined up with their jugs, their faces filled with a mixture of disbelief and gratitude. The engineers installed the filtration system, and soon, a steady stream of clean water flowed. It was a simple thing, but it was a miracle. As the sun set, Angelina stood near the newly flowing well, watching the children splashing in the small puddles, their laughter echoing through the camp. She saw the women walking home with full, clean buckets, their steps a little lighter. She saw the foundation of the school taking shape, a promise of knowledge and a brighter tomorrow. It was a testament to what could be accomplished when people worked together, when a small amount of hope was given the chance to grow. She knew there was still so much to be done, so many other camps, so many other people in need. But here, in this small, dusty corner of the world, a new life was beginning to take root, and she was grateful to be a part of it. The grit and the grind were worth it for moments like these. The momentum from the well's success carried through the entire camp. A sense of optimism, fragile but real, had taken hold. The women's cooperative, now with a clear path to market, was bustling with activity. Angelina spent a significant portion of her time with them, not as a celebrity, but as a partner. She sat with Zara and the other women, discussing pricing strategies, quality control, and even new designs. She brought with her a small digital camera and took professional-looking photos of their work, explaining that high-quality images were essential for an online catalog. Zara, who had been a teacher before the war, was a natural leader. She had a keen eye for color and pattern, and together, she and Angelina looked at designs, discussing how to appeal to a wider, international market while still staying true to their heritage. The women were weaving scarves, blankets, and small pouches, each piece telling a story of their culture and resilience. Angelina understood that this wasn't just a business. It was a way for them to preserve their history and share it with the world. She helped them create a small brand name for their goods, something that would resonate with buyers. They settled on Sahara threads, a name that evoked both their location and the intricate work they were doing. The clean water from the new well had a profound and immediate impact. The camp's clinic, which had been overwhelmed with cases of waterborne illnesses, was now seeing a dramatic decrease in patients. Children who had been too sick to attend classes were now able to come to the makeshift school. This created a new problem. The current space was too small to accommodate everyone. The construction of the new school building became even more urgent. Angelina worked with the UN staff to speed up the delivery of materials. She was at the construction site every day, not just supervising, but helping with the manual labor. She was a picture of determination, her hands stained with mud and her face streaked with dust. She also started an impromptu educational program for the children who couldn't fit in the current space. She would gather a small group of them under the shade of a large tree and tell them stories, read from books, and teach them simple songs in English and their native language. She was a natural with children, her calm demeanor and genuine interest putting them at ease. She listened to their stories of what they had lost and what they hoped for. She saw their potential, their resilience, and their incredible spirit. She knew that these children, if given the chance, could change the world. Angelina's presence was also a powerful tool for advocacy. She gave several interviews to journalists who had come to cover the situation in the camp. She didn't just talk about the need for aid. She spoke about the people she had met. She spoke about Fatou, the teacher, who was a beacon of hope in the classroom. She spoke about Zara, the weaver, who was building a future for her community one thread at a time. She spoke about the engineers who had worked tirelessly to bring clean water to the camp. Her words painted a picture of a community that was not helpless, but one that was strong, resilient, and full of potential. She called on the international community to not just send aid, but to invest in these people, to give them the tools to rebuild their lives. One evening, as she sat with a group of elders, listening to their stories and their concerns, she reflected on the immense power of personal connection. It wasn't about a big speech or a large donation. It was about sitting with people, listening to their stories, and showing them that they mattered. It was about being present, a witness to their struggles and their triumphs. She felt a deep sense of humility and purpose. The work was far from over, but the progress was undeniable. The threads of hope were being woven together, and the fabric of a new, stronger community was taking shape, one story, one brick, and one drop of clean water at a time. The mission was proving to be about more than just aid. It was about building a foundation of dignity and self-sufficiency. As the weeks turned into a month, the progress in the camp was remarkable. The new school building, once a mere blueprint on paper, was now a solid structure. The mud brick walls stood tall and strong, and the tin roof was in place, a shining beacon under the relentless sun. The local builders, with Angelina and her team's support, had outdone themselves. It was a testament to their skill and the community's collective will. The school had 3 separate classrooms, a small library corner, and even a shaded courtyard where the children could play. Angelina personally helped paint the walls in bright, cheerful colors. The children watched, their faces pressed against the newly installed wooden door frames, their excitement almost too much to contain. They couldn't wait to get inside. She commissioned local artists from the camp to paint murals on the walls, scenes of children learning, playing, and dreaming. The art was a powerful symbol, turning a simple building into a sanctuary of hope and a celebration of their culture. The women's cooperative, Sahara Threads, was also flourishing. The fair trade company had placed a large order, and the women were working tirelessly to meet the demand. Angelina helped them set up a basic accounting system and a quality control process. She explained the importance of consistency and professionalism in a way that was easy for them to understand. The women, who had once been solely focused on survival, were now discussing profit margins and expansion plans. They were empowered, and it showed in their confidence and their laughter, which now filled their workshop. The first profits from the sales were reinvested back into the cooperative, and a small portion was distributed to the women, giving them a sense of financial independence they hadn't known in years. The success of the clean water well was perhaps the most life-changing of all. The health of the camp had improved dramatically. The clinic was no longer overwhelmed, and the medical staff was able to focus on preventative care and treating other ailments. The availability of clean water also meant that the women and children didn't have to spend hours every day walking to a distant, unsafe water source. That time could now be spent on other things, the women on their business, the children in school. It was a domino effect of progress, a chain reaction of positive change. Angelina spent her last few days in the camp tying up loose ends and ensuring the projects could continue to thrive after she left. She set up a committee of local leaders, including Fatou, the teacher, and Zara, the weaver, to manage the school and the cooperative. She ensured they had the resources and the training to keep the projects running smoothly. She stressed the importance of community ownership and leadership, emphasizing that these projects were theirs, not hers. Her role was to be a catalyst, but the real work was done by the people of the camp. On her final evening, a farewell ceremony was held. The entire camp gathered, their faces illuminated by the light of a bonfire. The children sang songs they had learned in their new school. Zara and the women of Sahara Threads presented Angelina with a beautifully woven scarf, a gift of deep gratitude. The elders spoke of her not as a celebrity, but as a friend and a partner, someone who had seen their humanity and helped them reclaim their dignity. Angelina stood before them, her heart full. She didn't give a grand speech. She simply spoke from the heart, in a quiet, sincere voice. She told them that they were the real heroes, that their strength, resilience, and spirit were the things that would truly change their lives. She thanked them for letting her be a part of their journey. She looked out at the faces of the children, at the women, at the elders, and she saw not just refugees, but a community. A vibrant, determined, and hopeful community that was building its own future, brick by brick, thread by thread, and drop by clean drop. The mission was a success, but more importantly, a new chapter was beginning for everyone in the camp. And she was honored to have helped them turn the page. Angelina's final departure from the camp was a quiet affair. There were no cameras or reporters, just a few of the community leaders who had come to say goodbye. She hugged Fatou, the teacher, who promised to send her updates on the school's progress. She shook hands with Zara, who gave her a small bag of newly made threads as a parting gift. As her vehicle pulled away, she looked back at the camp, at the new school standing proudly against the horizon, at the children playing near the flowing well. She saw a place transformed, not by a single act of charity, but by a partnership of shared purpose. Back in the bustling, impersonal world of airports and press conferences, Angelina was a different person. The dust of the Sahel was gone from her clothes, but the experience was etched in her heart. She held a press conference, and instead of speaking in generalities, she spoke with a passion born of personal experience. She held up the small bag of threads from Zara, telling the story of the women's cooperative. She spoke of the school's progress and the dramatic improvement in the children's health since the new well was installed. She didn't just present statistics. She presented faces and stories, making the plight of the refugees a tangible, human reality for millions of people. Her advocacy had a powerful ripple effect. Donations poured in, not just for the camp she had visited, but for other similar projects in the region. The Fairtrade company she had connected with the women's cooperative expanded their partnership, helping to establish similar businesses in other camps. The model of community-led development, with a focus on education, economic empowerment, and basic health infrastructure, became a blueprint for other aid organizations. The success of the project in the Sahel was a testament to the power of a holistic approach, proving that lasting change comes from building a foundation for self-sufficiency. Months later, Angelina received a letter and a photo. The letter was from Fatou, written in a careful, elegant hand. The photo showed the new school, now full of children sitting at brand-new desks, their faces bright with curiosity and focus. The letter spoke of the school's success, of the new teachers they had hired, and of the first group of students who would soon be graduating to a secondary school. It was a testament to the power of a dream, realized one step at a time. A few weeks later, another package arrived. It was from Zara. Inside, a beautiful, intricately woven shawl. The note was simple. From all of us at Sahara Threads. Our business is growing. We are strong. Thank you for believing in us. Angelina held the shawl, running her fingers over the vibrant colors and patterns. Each thread felt like a story, a memory of a face, a laugh, a shared moment of hope. The success of these projects wasn't hers alone. It belonged to the people who had worked tirelessly, who had never given up hope, even in the most difficult circumstances. Angelina continued her work, traveling to other camps, other conflict zones, her mission refined and deepened by her experience in the Sahel. She knew that the challenges were immense and the needs were great, but she also knew that a small seed of hope, if nurtured correctly, could grow into a mighty tree. She carried with her the lessons of the dust, the dreams, and the unwavering spirit of the people she had met. She had gone to help, but in the end, she had learned far more than she had taught. Her mission had not been about saving people, but about helping them save themselves. And in doing so, she had found her own purpose renewed, a lasting legacy woven into the fabric of a community she would never forget.